I guess. Yeah. So it is live. Please start.
All right, wonderful. So I'm going to quickly share my presentation. In the meantime, let me also thank Shabana for giving up this forum again for me to speak amongst you all. I can see few of you have already logged in. Let me also introduce myself. When you see the screen, let me know. I'm just like putting up the presentation. Are you able to see the screen? Not yet. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, Jasmine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah. All right. So storytelling, the art of storytelling, and how can we communicate through stories? This is one of my favorite topics because I believe that stories are a primal way of communicating, which started right from our childhood. And many cultures have the storytelling as a part of raising the children itself, right? So this is going to be one of my favorite topic, but today we will see how we can capitalize on this skill and use it when we communicate in our profession and in our relationship. So that's what the agenda is going to be. I would also like to quickly introduce myself. I'm not going to read through everything. Just to give you in a nutshell, my full name is Primrose Jasmin. Remember me as Jasmine, that would do. I'm from the background of psychology. I'm a certified NLP practitioner. NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. I'm also a transactional analysis expert. I'm a behavioral trainer as well, and I run a company called as the Top Talents, which is into training and coaching. So that is very briefly about me. Now, look at this picture. What is the first thought which crosses your mind? Okay, this is going to be interactive. So feel free to unmute yourself and talk, or you can use the chat window as well.
A lady is sitting and cooking jalebis.
Yeah, yes, that's right. So that's the first thought which crossed your mind.
Old lady is cooking jalebis.
Okay, all right.
She must be having some shadi in the house or
Okay,
whatsoever. So she's preparing for that. Thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. All right. Now, when I'm going to ask Shabana here, Shabana, what's your thought when you look at this picture?
I see, of course, the lady and she's cooking, but also there is a crow who is waiting
Yeah.
for some food.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So this story is quite famous down south because I'm also from the south, where this also has been featured in some of the schools in the moral stories, where this crow will steal this food from the grandmother, and the crow will trick the grandmother in a particular way. So the moral says that you shouldn't get tricked. So every story comes with a lesson and a moral because stories help us to think from the right part of our brain, and it helps us to ensure that we learn few of the life skills very, very quickly and easily. So that's the power of stories. Yeah. Now, having said this, I'm going to give you some statistics which has been declared by Harvard and many other trusted sources as to why storytelling matters. Okay. The first statistic says 90% of the people remember a message better if it is told in the form of a story. Yeah. So stories can sell. Yeah. So when you know how to convey your message in the form of a story, the 90% of the people are going to remember and retain that information. Now, the second statistic says 65% of the people make buying decisions based on emotion and not logic. So if you're a professional and you are selling product or services or your knowledge, then this is an important point for you. People don't buy the logic. It might look that they are buying the logic, but it is the emotion which taps the right chord. Yeah. Then 75% of the people are more likely to trust a company that tells stories. This is something which I'm not coming up with. This is the story about Tata. All right, I'm going to read out the exact article and I'll later share it with you as well. The Untold Tale of Tata. This is a LinkedIn post where they talk about how storytelling is Tata's ultimate brand building mastery. So when I say Tata, not just in India, many people across the world will be able to strike a chord because they have created so many stories through their brand. Now, with that said, let's move into the agenda for today. It's going to be a very brief session. I'll maybe like stop in 35 minutes and then I'll open the floor for you to share your story. We're going to use this forum as a testing ground for us. We will learn, but we will not just go with the learning. We'll go ahead and implement the learning right here in my presence. So I can also share my inputs and you can go from with some practical demonstration of stories which you can use. So let's begin with elements in a story and then where you can use these stories, how storytelling and communication are connected, and towards end, you are going to be your creator or author of your own story. All right. Now, again, I would like you all to answer. There are no right or wrong answers. You can just like share your thought. What are some of the elements which you can think which would come in a story? Let me say the question again. What are some of the elements which you think can come in a story? Now, to make your life easier, I'm going to show a couple of movie posters. Looking at this, now you can think of the same question. What are some elements which can come in a story? The first
Hello,
one,
good evening.
yes, good evening.
Yeah. So I would say it's a character, the
Yes, character.
protagonist, yeah,
Yes, yes,
and the
absolutely.
story, which talks about, the base, the foundation, where we are going to start it from.
Absolutely. Yeah. When did this happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. I think that was Samina. Is that correct?
Yes,
All
you're
right.
right.
Yeah. Samina, thank you so much for sharing your input on that. Now, the first one is a famous South Indian movie, and on the right side is a movie which we know quite well, um, which is like seen by most of the kids, and this has also come as a book. So, as Samina rightly said, any story will have definitely characters. The story revolves around characters, and there'll be a hero, there'll be a villain, and there'll be drama, and there'll be climax, and there'll be like the timeline when the story happens, and finally they conclude with a lesson or a moral to the society most of the time, but not all the time. Yeah. So the first one is the setting. Like when did it happen? Is it historical? Is it fantasy? And what is the plot? What is the sequence of events which is going to come in the story? And then there will be a conflict because there should be a peak moment or a peak emotion so that the audience are involved. If it is just going like a flat line, I think people might not be engaged. They'll feel bored. So just to keep the audience engagement and keep them like upbeat, they ensure that they come up with some conflict or drama. Yeah. And then the characters, the person and his characteristics. How are they portraying each one of them? Are they portrayed in a way that they are going to do good, or are they going to do harmful things, or are they going to crack some jokes? So the character is also portrayed. Now, these are the main elements in a normal story, all right, which many of us can relate to. But how storytelling and communication can be connected? This is the million-dollar question, or this is the crux of our entire session also. Yeah. Yes, Jasmine, facts are good. Storytelling is a wonderful tool, but how is it related to communication? All right. That will be answered with this question. Where can it be used? Okay. I have not given many areas, but you can always go ahead and add more areas depending upon the profession you are in from. Now, one of the areas which I can immediately think of is you can use storytelling when you are using it as a sales pitch or you are creating brand for your company or for yourself. or when you are trying to exchange an idea, or during client presentations when you're talking about success stories, or even in a relationship when the other person has misunderstood you. Can you relate a story and tell them to look at it with a different perspective? Because when you narrate story, what happens is the right part of the brain starts acting, and the other person can visualize, can travel into your story and see from different dimensions about the same incident which has happened. Now, when it comes to client presentations, can you make the client visualize if they connect with you, if they accept your proposal? How can the future be looking like for them? So their stories can be used. And when you're creating a brand for yourself, like how the nano car, birth of nano car came into picture. So Tata looked at a family, they were on the bike, I would say precisely scooter, and they were drenched in the rain. And then the family couldn't afford a posh car. So he thought if a normal family can afford a car, if we can produce it in such a way, then this problem will be taken care where they don't have to get drenched in the rain. So that gave to the inception of Nano. Yeah. So the birth of a product can also be narrated in the form of a story. So now a person looks at the nano car, they'll be emotionally connected to it rather than just looking at it like an object. Or you have a creative idea, okay, and you want to exchange that idea to the other person. Rather than describing it, can you add a story, a flavor to it, and then share it with the other person? Now, when I say all this, if a thought is crossing your mind, Jasmine, I am not a storyteller. Maybe I listen to stories, I believe in it, but I do not know to say stories. No worries. Today we will learn few elements which can make anyone to go ahead and say and narrate stories if you just follow the formula, right? So now storytelling is a performance and we need 6 elements to do this performance really, really well. The first element is this: play the characters. All right. Now imagine that you have a success story which you would like to share. Okay. And when you share the success story, you want to convince the other person, persuade the other person. So if you just narrate the story, there will not be any connection. There has to be intonation. There has to be some ups and downs in your voice. There has to be some dialogues so that the opposite person will feel that they are traveling along with you. All right. Now, I'm a part of BNI. BNI stands for Business Networking International. In this, every entrepreneur gets 30 seconds to share their success stories. And you might be thinking, oh my God, just 30 seconds? And how can someone even say something? We are tuned in such a way, trained in such a way that we use it like an airtime. We get 30 seconds just to talk about our business and especially a success story. How do we say it quickly? So we'll have a problem statement and then we will have a solution which we gave to the client and then we will complete with the feeling or the emotion of the client. Something like this. Since I'm from the training line, let me talk about training. All right. So I narrated this success story today. Today's Wednesday. I had my BNA meeting. So I said something like this. Recently, a client from company ABC approached us and told us that whenever he catches the mic, he starts to shiver. So we advised him to take up a session called public speaking skills with us. And after he attended the session, guess what? The client gave us the feedback that when he now catches the mic, he's never letting it go. Now, what does this convey to you? I'm going to pause by. What does this convey to you? What is your understanding? Did you picturize anything in your mind while I was narrating this incident?
Yeah, we did. Like his mic, his hand was shivering and holding a mic and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So now imagine the same success story. If I had just told you that, this person was afraid to speak in public, we gave them a public speaking skills workshop and he was fine after that. How did this sound? compared to that one? Do you see the difference? How intonation, playing the characters can add a lot of flavor to your story. Are you able to see the difference?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, the second one is when you say story, your audience, your listener are the most important people. So, link the story to the point. What do you want to convey to them? What should they get out of what you're saying or narrating as a story? So, when the audience have clarity on that, they will be completely engaged. John Maxwell says this: everyone communicates, but very few connect. And that connect can happen when you know to do this. Link the story to the point. Yeah. Now, how can this be done? Let me give you a very quick example. There was this doctor who was talking about back pain. Yeah. And she had a patient, he had a pain. All right. So let me give you these two scenarios. This doctor had a back pain. All right. And there was another patient who came to her. He was talking about a pain. Now, both of them have a common factor, which is the pain. So what she did was she narrated her incident to the pains he has. Okay, because this patient was pretty repulsive. He was not agreeing to take the treatment. You're saying it's just like, it'll go off and all that. So she said, the body has its own way to communicate to us. You know how I understood this? Because the last week when I had a back pain, I continued to ignore it. And I was just twisting and turning, and I was angry at everybody I see. And then finally, my husband stopped me and told me, stop. What is happening with you? Why are you reacting so much? This is not your usual self. That's when I realized the pain is what has triggered to this series of events in my life. Now that I have said this to you, please understand that your pain can also lead to recurring events. So, can we do something about it? Now, when she presented this question to the other person, he was called for action because she was able to link it to the point. Now, I am not sure of all the person's professions, but I would like to stop by and ask if it's okay to share with you. I think we have a certified yoga teacher. And Samina, what profession are you into? Would you like to share?
Yes, of course. Um, where should I start? I don't know. But starting from, I am a storyteller, a writer,
Wonderful.
and a public speaker.
Very nice. So we
Yeah.
have an experienced person here to share some more inputs with us. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Shabana, not Shabana, Samina, since you are already a storyteller, if
Hmm.
you are wanting to convey a particular point to the audience, like how
Hmm.
would you link it to the story? Would you want to share that input from your experience with us? It'll be a learning for
Hmm.
me as well.
See, you go about it subtly, not very directly,
Mm,
and you link some past experience, anecdote, or any other, where you have heard something, read something, and connect it with that, so people will understand, they'll like it, and they will remember.
mm, wonderful. Anecdotes are excellent ways to easily tap the point or the message
Hmm.
which we want to convey rather than saying it in so many words.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. Yeah, appreciate that. Right. Now, the third element is specificity. Whenever you're narrating a story or saying a story, when you're communicating to people, the more specific details you add, that's going to make your story sound terrific. In BNI, we often say specific is terrific. Yeah. And that is definitely true for communication as well. And especially when you're saying a story, when you narrate the characters and tell the audience, okay, the character is around this age group. He or she is wearing a particular color shirt, and this person maybe average height is so and so. Now, when you give the specific details of the character, what happens is the audience are able to imagine that person, and that becomes a liveliness for them. So that's the reason when you give specific details, audience can paint a picture of that particular character which you're talking about from your story. Now I'm going to pause by, and this question is for the audience. Describe your dream car or whatever is your dream. Okay. Now let's take an exercise where you are going to describe your vision or your dream or your goal. How would you describe it?
Namaste and Sat Sri Akal, Jasmine.
Yes.
First of all, I talk about my dream car. If I was, I'm a differently able person. From, visualizing myself. If I was normal, my dream car would be Porsche. But I can still get a Porsche with a driver. That's my hope for someday to to get a Porsche with a driver to drive me. So that's my dream car. Talking about my dream goal, my dream goal is and my dream goal is I'm already making spreading happiness to those who need it, spreading inspiration to those who need it by laughter yoga, and inspiring others to live a better life. When I inspire others, I inspire myself also. So it takes two to tango lah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's how. So so my dream car is Porsche, and I love to be a laughter yoga teacher and motivate others through my talk shows, and even through Maven platform every 2 Thursdays. Thank you, Shabana, for giving us this platform. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Sincere gratitude. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So now, you mentioned your dream car. All right. Now, since we are practicing this element of specificity, would you want to add the specific color? All right. Yeah.
Specific color for Porsche Jasmine, it is black.
Is that the only color? I'm not so good about the cars. Is that the only color which is available for Porsche or something? Nothing like that, right?
No, black or red. Normally,
Okay.
Porsche is looks good in red per se.
Yeah. All right. Wonderful. So your preference is black.
No,
Yeah.
already I have a second dream car, which is Honda.
Oh, okay.
But now my mom's using it. Yeah,
All
to
right.
drive.
All right. Yeah. Now, when you have the Porsche, you also mentioned about the driver. So automatically I started visualizing. All right.
Yeah.
So now the driver is the specificity there. Porsche is a car. We are able to think of the picture, but when you add specificity, what happens? The details which you add to it becomes the specificity for the audience who's listening to me who cannot see the picture which is in your mind. When you add specificity, I see the picture you're painting. Are you able to relate to it?
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I can also see Neelam who has joined. Neelam ji, would you want to participate in this activity of sharing your dream or adding specific details to it? I welcome Samina also. Anyone who's interested can share.
What is the question, Jasmine?
Yeah, the question is, what is your dream car or what is your vision? Would you want to add specificity to it and share it with us so that we can paint a picture of that in our mind as well?
It's my dream, right? Not the
Yes.
one which Asham.
No, your dream. Yeah.
Okay. Neelam, you want to go first?
I think Neelam
Neelam
is
ji?
on mute. She's on mute. I think Samina, you can begin and then let's continue.
Okay, so the very closest, dream I can see now is setting up my own institute wherein I have all these verticals and already have my company's name in place.
Wonderful.
Of course, with some of the workshops being done and things like that. So it's Miraculous Ventures. And Ventures is because it's a lot of other verticals that will come in
Mm,
supporting the main theme,
mm,
supporting the main business like educational, and then it follows with all these. And that's how I look at it. So, in a big way, that I'm going first pan India and then global. So
wonderful.
that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
All the best to you on that part, Samina.
Thank you so much. Yes.
All right. Now, just to add this point of specificity, all right. Now, the vision you have, what you're setting up, now I know what it is. All right. Now, for me to see the image which you have about your vision in your mind, the specific details like, the office color, the office area square feet, and like, what are the number of people you are going to have. And when you say like, a little more color of the wall, all these things, what happens for the audience will add specificity. For example, when I manifested my dream house, I'm sitting right there. I used to write in my journal, white villa type house. The bedroom, it has to have 3 bedrooms. Okay, it has to have a hall and a separate gym room. And in the parking, there has to be 2 cars which should be standing. And I even thought about different themes for different rooms. All right. Now, when I say this, even without my knowledge, I was able to get in my subconscious mind a picture of the villa I was envisioning. And the villa which we have right here now is almost 90% closer to that. Okay. So manifestation is different, but the point here which I wanted to drive is when you add specificity, it creates a picture which you have in your mind to the audience as well. And then what happens? The connect builds and the audience becomes so engaged because they're able to see as an image what you're talking about. Does this make sense?
Yes, of course.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Now comes the fourth element, which is the peak moment. Any story, when it has a peak moment or a peak emotion, that's when the audience would come to the corner of the stage. It makes it even more curious, even more interesting. All right. Now, for you to create that, whenever you're saying a moment from where you will kind of like move to the moral or the lesson of the story, you can create emotions. This happened very recently at home. I'm going to pick up that incident and I'm going to show you how it is a peak moment. I have a teenage daughter, and you can relate maybe if you have a niece or a nephew, or like you have seen teenage children, or you have one of yours own. You can relate to this. I was talking to her, I was advising her, and suddenly when I looked at her, there was a drop of tear which was almost about to fall on her cheeks. And when I looked at that, I paused and I went next to her and I put my arm around her. And the child started crying for some time and she did not stop. Now, this is a peak moment where I added an emotion. And if you have observed, I had a couple of pauses as well. Pauses are very powerful in a story because it helps the audience to sink in that emotion which we are trying to convey. All right. So when you are saying a success story to a client or you are giving a training proposal to a client, then when you tell them the success story with a pause, with a peak moment, that emotion will make them to buy your service or product, and it is not the logic alone. Does this relate to you? Are you able to sink in how to use this new communication? And we'll, of course,
Mm,
practice as well. Yeah.
yes, yes.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that acknowledgement. And stories cannot go without imagination. And you look at the picture, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with this movie and the story Alice in the Wonderland, created beautifully with the imagination of so many beautiful characters. Now, how do we use this word to our advantage? How do we leverage on this? Whenever you are talking to a client, talking to a customer, and you want them to think about the future, then you use the word imagine. For example, if you sign up this contract with us, in the next 5 years, you can see your company from point A to point C. So you are telling them, imagine if you are signing up with us, in the next 5 to 10 years, you can see your company leaping from point A to point Z. Now you are making the person to envision their future. So using the word imagine now and then, if you really want to make the person think about the future when they associate with you, is the powerful word. You don't have to use everywhere, but in the context of making them to think about the future. When you're talking about signing up programs with you, signing up contracts with you, if you're having freelance trainers working for you, then you can use up this word imagine. Right? Now, the last element is the most important. Whenever there is a story, don't report, but relive the moment. Okay. How is it different? Report is statistics. Okay. Character A came, character A did this, character B responded this way, so on and so forth. But reliving is character A said this, say the dialogue. Character B responded this way, say the dialogue. Then what happens? You will be able to demonstrate in front of the audience eyes that you are reliving the moment. So if you're talking about what is your milestone, what is your achievement, what brought you to this startup or entrepreneurship or whatever profession you're doing, at that moment, rather than saying the statistic, relive that moment. You can say something like this, which is my company story. During the inception of COVID, there were so many things which happened to so many people. But one breakthrough which happened for me was the inception of my company, the Top Talents. It is a 4-year-old company and we do blah, blah, blah. So look at the way I made the person to see the moment because I relived that moment. All right. Now, these are the 6 elements of storytelling in a nutshell: playing the characters, saying the dialogues, intonating, linking the story to the point. What is the purpose of you saying this? What is the takeaway for the audience? And then adding colors, character, images so that the person can visualize. And then the emotion, peak moment. And then using the word imagine when you want to make the other person to live in the future and relive the story or the moment or the situation or an incident which happened in your life rather than reporting it. When you have all these 6 elements, I am sure you will not be just communicating, you will be connecting with people with storytelling. Are you all with me so far? Right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for that. Now, how can you create stories in your speech? So, this is again out of your choice. You can create a story by using this small template where you are the center, okay, and your life is the important one. There are other characters maybe in your life and a plot. When did it happen? Was there a conflict, twist, or maybe there was a problem, a solution, win, or what is the message which you want to convey to the audience? You don't have to say the entire life history of yours, but you can take a segment of your life, maybe from where you became what. or a particular incident which happened in your life. You can narrate that as a story also, or how you began your business. I leave it up to you. Now, if you cannot remember all the 6 things, remember these 4 things to make it impactful. If you have a notepad and pen, maybe you can just make a small outline of what you're going to say, just the keywords. That will be the framework. And then you can start the story with a hook. What is a hook is, you can start it with a question or a quote. Now, I'm going to ask this question to you. Do you remember how I started this presentation? Do you remember how I started this presentation?
No.
That's okay. I showed a picture. I asked a question. What
Yeah.
is the first thing which, yeah? So that is a hook. I'm part of Toastmasters. I finished my DTM, which is Distinguished Toastmasters. So in Toastmasters, we have a concept, a project called storytelling. In that, they speak about hook, and there are different ways. You can start with a question. You can start with statistics. You can start with a quote. Anything, yeah. And then share with the audience what is the purpose of you explaining that. But you should not use the word purpose and say it. We should understand from how you're narrating it. And then what is the intention or action of you saying the story? Do you want to convince us? Do you want to influence us? Or you just want a validation? Or there is a call to action? Because if somebody is speaking about quit smoking, then they might have a call to action. Yeah. So whatever is the genre of the speech, incident, situation you're taking, based on that, you can outline your story. Trust me, it need not be perfect, but you can just start it so that you will know how are you able to implement what we learned today. Yeah. So you can take a notepad and pen. If you want, just take an incident, just put the keywords in it. For example, if you're going to say something from your college life, some incident which happened where you've had peer pressure, you can say, okay, college life, peer pressure, characters. Yeah. And then you can think in your mind, how are you going to start? And then you're going to give a moral that peer pressure maybe is good, bad, whatever is your opinion. And this is not a convincing one. This is not influencing. It is a sharing or a validation part. You can take anything. You can take the current situation also where you are, thinking about venturing into something, or you have a dream. You can talk about that, whatever it is. Would you want to experiment by saying your story here in 2 to 3 minutes? You take some time. You want to just like think, arrange your thoughts. That's also fine. Let me share a very small sample. Okay. Now, in one of the training batches, I was talking about intonation. Okay. I was telling these people when you speak, there has to be ups and downs, or else you will sound like a flat ECG graph. And I asked them, what does the ECG graph, which is flat, say? One of the participants said, the 10. I said, intonation is like that. And then to convey the second point that how we say something is impactful, I was demonstrating this point and I suddenly looked at the boy and I said, you're such a good boy. And you should have seen the way this guy was startled because what I said impacted him second. How I said impacted him first. And then later on, he realized, oh, this lady is giving me only compliments. All right. So this was a very small incident which I shared with you. There is no action, but I just narrated it with intonation and dialogue. Okay. So would you want to share any incident, impactful ones which you want to share with the forum today? You can use this as a testing ground. No, judgments made, no right or wrong answers because your story, it is very credible. Nobody can come and comment on anything. Yeah. Go ahead, please. Yes.
Okay. My story, well, will be starting with a, I normally have in my in my laughter introduction, I'll always start with a name, and I say my name is Rajvin and laugh, and then so my purpose of saying uh, is that uh, what impact, what is the moral that I want to portray. My portray is to purpose is to get the audience to laugh, motivate them to laugh more, and to be inspired by my life journey, and to be a laughter teacher is is actually a gift to myself that I give for this 40th birthday. Even though it was last year, I still consider like a big dream has been fulfilled. Even though I won the pageant as Miss Beautiful Smile, oh, I wish it's so interesting. And my call to action for both of them was I inspire others to live a better life through laughter and joy. And we create laughter yoga for world peace. And my call to action is to laugh every day and to be a difference maker as a teacher and a trainer, so that whether is terminally ill or not. Right now I'm dealing with a people from Cancer Society, and what I learned from them is celebrating life and giving hope. So hope is the only thing that can give to a person. So we are very, very fortunate in this life. So I really hope that my dreams will come true. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story with us. Now, I'm gonna mm, add my 2 cents to it. That is, now you told us, you narrated, okay, as to like what do you do, and with respect to each of these headings, you mentioned the purpose, you mentioned the action. All right. Now, if I may request, take one particular incident which happened in your session and share that incident, relive that moment before us. For example, in one of the recent sessions I conducted, there was this character A, and she looked so sad, and I did not understand what brought in that sadness. So, as I was talking to her about a lot of information from that particular training, eventually, like a flower bloomed, she smiled. And then I paused by and asked her this curious question: what made you to smile? What brought in that change? And then character B said, and whatever dialogue she's saying, you can say it with intonation. So here, you don't even have to use the word purpose. You don't even have to use the word action. As an audience, we will understand, okay, so you made a soul who came into the session who was sad to feel happy, and you have influenced that person. So this message automatically we would get it in, right? Would you want to try it in that way? Just acting out, reliving the moment of one of the incidents which happened in your session. Would you want to try?
Maybe in the maybe I'll try it as an exercise on my own. Then I'll let you know the next session.
Sure, absolutely. You take your time. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. Samina, would you want to try reliving a moment? It happened in your session or in your business or in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't tell the whole story, but I'll continue with her story.
Yes.
And I'll say, that one fine morning, when you're in a session of laughter therapy, as usual, I was very lively and just wanted everyone to laugh, with us. And we did in the beginning. But then I saw a little girl, sitting in the corner where there was no expression on her face and she wouldn't forget laughter, but she wouldn't even smile. That took my smile and my laughter away. And I was wondering, how can I make her laugh? What is it that is bothering her? And if only she could come up and speak. But I knew that is not the way. So we all started to tell a small joke, each one in his own turn. And what I found was when her turn came, she knew it was not a sad moment, but she had to relive the moment. And she told about a boy, who was driving fast and teasing the other boys. But ultimately, when he reaches the post, he bangs with a tree and falls down. And then all the other boys started to laugh. So that brought a lot of laughter it's not, we are not making fun of anyone, but it is just the action of that, arrogant boy that brought this into play, that everyone had to laugh when he fell because he was teasing the others. So
Mm,
don't you feel that it is something that we have always kindness and compassion for everyone and we take them along the way rather than make fun or tease anyone? So audience, what do you think about that?
mm. Wonderful. Wonderfully narrated. You know what, Samina? I would take you through this one. Where is it? Hmm. So you played the characters, you linked the story to the point, you added specificity by saying the boy, the girl not smiling, the tree, how he went and hit the tree. So thereby I was able to paint the picture and the peak moment was brought in. And imagine was not so relevant here. And you also used the option of reliving that moment. All right.
Hmm.
So, very beautifully, you have structured it. Now, this is just my opinion and perspective because what happens is when we are in a session, I feel that my moral responsibility is to add inputs which can make you from better to the best. In that
Yeah.
perspective, I just wanted to add one input which could have been the dialogues. All right.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And here was their laughter. Ha ha ha. All of them laughed. And then this
Hmm.
happened, and this girl said this. So, in her, just a variation of the characters would make it even more beautiful. But it is not
Hmm.
mandatory because in a business per se, we will not do that. But I'm just
Hmm.
adding that point for your reference. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Wonderful. So thank you so much. I'm sure, this was a testing ground for you where you went ahead and enacted your story and shared your inputs. So I'm almost towards the end of our session. So I would like to stop by and ask you, this is a topic which we all know. This is not a topic which is out of the blue or new or rocket science. But yet, today we discussed together. So I want you to share with me what is that one key takeaway for you from the session.
One key takeaway, Miss Jasmine, would be me and you are trainer. All of us are trainers. Me, you, Shabana, uh, and
Samina.
yeah, and actually, one key takeaway from all, not only from this session, but from all Maven sessions would be, from these sessions especially, and also other sessions in Maven would be gratitude, and also self-reflection, and be thankful for what we all have, and laugh more, like what Samina said, and do not be too serious about in life.
Absolutely.
Communicate, like they said, like they said in Sikhism, communicate with the Shabad Guru, communicate with the higher self, means communicate everything to the universe, communicate everything with Gurbani hums in it. Communicate with love, communicate with joyfulness, communicate with serendipity. That's what I learned from today's session, and that's what I learned from my experience in going to Gurdwara just now. It was the same like what you have mentioned before in this
Wonderful.
session. Thank you.
Very beautifully shared. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. All right. Samina, is there any takeaway for you, because you yourself are a storyteller? So I'm curious to know from you.
Um, my main point here was, which really piqued my attention, was how you communication and storytelling be connected. That was my takeaway here, and I'm quite happy because I'm doing uh, this reel of Insta on communication, and this has
Wonderful.
opened my mind to other avenues, and I'm surely going to put this point across.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
And
Yeah.
thank you so much for being very interactive as well. Appreciate that. All right. So, with that note, thank you so much. Remember this. I would like to leave you with this thought: everyone communicates, but very few connect. And this connect can happen when you communicate through storytelling. So, create great stories, relive great stories. I'm sure your communication will be effective as well. Thank you so much. Over to Shabana.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. It was really a wonderful session, and you really encouraged us to use stories and learn
Thank
more.
you.
So
Thank you,
thank
Shabana.
yeah. Thank you, everyone.